Greetings, my name is Kairo Jackson. I am a senior computer science major from Brooklyn, New York. I'm also an Oprah Winfrey Scholar. This is the More Conversations podcast with the Andrew Young Center for Global Leadership. And today, we are in conversation with Kennard Garrett. Mr. Garrett is a 2001 graduate of Morehouse College. He is a Grammy Award-winning producer, musician, arranger, educator, and on the board of trustees for the Recording Academy. Thank you so much for being here today. What feeling do you get from making music? And actually, as it, like seeing where you are today, like how does that drive the work that you do today?
Yeah, so music is a release for me. I mean, like most people, they might go to the gym, they might go running, they might go swimming. I do those things too for physical health reasons. But for me, I actually find my energy in making music, honestly, in solitude, in making music and writing songs, to be able to create. It wasn't that I wasn't feeling physics or the engineering or sciences. It's just that I'm more fulfilled in a profession that I love. I mean, I can't escape it. Music is all around us. It's all around me. It is the soundtrack to my life. Progressing within the music industry has led me to, like I said, many intersections between music and what I learned from my formal schooling. But I think the biggest thing is that it's allowed me to see the world in a different way. There's one thing about making music. The music business is a whole nother world. So where I am now, I sit at right at the intersection of the music and the music business. And of course, technology has heavily influenced how music is produced, distributed, consumed. So I'm at the forefront of that, and it's fulfilling on both ends.
Most definitely, that's true. And so it's like, going back to what you said before, like even the fact that you're back at Morehouse now and you're able to, again, like not only are you able to have a career off of what actually fulfills you and stuff, but you're also an educator as well. Can you speak on how you actually, became an educator back at Morehouse?
Yeah. So I was at a intersection in my, or crossroad in my career where I had a lot of young Morehouse individuals finding me. In my music career, a lot of them interned for me. And I finally said, okay, you guys are pretty talented. There's a lot that's happening over there. Let me come over to the school and explore. So I came over, I took a tour of the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center. It was a studio within the building. It was not put together or anything like that. And I finally asked, like, what are y'all doing with this? And no one really had a clue around music recording and music technology. So that was big point for me to figure out how can I inject myself within this to at least help these students, because there was a yearning for it. There was a desire to find an outlet for it. But the college didn't have anything that really spoke to that. And me being a non-traditional music career guy, I didn't, major in music. I knew there were more people out there like me who coming to Morehouse. They probably had an interest in music. It wasn't Glee Club band or jazz band or another ensemble, but they wanted to be on the technology or the recording side. So I basically injected myself in it and asked how can I, help support this desire for learning, which turned into some workshops, which turned into classes, which turned into me actually serving as director of Ray Charles Performing Arts Center. So it's been very interesting, and it's been an incredible time watching students grow within this field. A couple of years ago, we had 2 students who were nominated for Grammys that I taught. And so it's been very fulfilling watching what I think is the next generation of music makers, but in a very evolved music industry. It doesn't look the same way it looked 20 years ago when I came into the music industry. And my thing is, if we're going to be anywhere, providing education, I'm going to go to the best place with, I know, the sharpest minds from a creative and from a technical side and an industry side. So that's my passion. That's why I'm back here at Morehouse.
Of course. That's what I'm saying. And you touched on like so many things. I was like I'm mad excited right now. Where do I want to start? Let's talk about the industry first, right? So, actually, let me back up. Let's talk about, I guess, more so like your role as an educator. Let's start there, right? I feel like, and, as somebody who was a part of, one of your, workshops and stuff, I feel like the space that you and Henny as well, that the space that you guys provide, for students is awesome, because like I know for me, again, like I study computer science, I don't really have like a means of really trying to figure out like, oh, how does like a sampler work? You know what I'm saying? How do audio interfaces work? Like, granted, I go to YouTube and stuff, but I'm just not that type of learner. I learn better from like actually getting to talk to people and stuff. So I really just want to take my time actually to say thank you as well, right? Because like it's a space that like it's really needed. And it's giving me a chance to really just like learn more about like my role in the industry and what roles I could play in the industry actually, right? Actually, so on the same tip of you actually being an educator as well, I know that you teach a J-Master course. Can you actually speak a little bit more on the J-Master course that you also teach with Henny as well? Can you speak on that J-Master course and what exactly that course entails and like what exactly the message that you're trying to get across in that class?
Yeah, J-Master is it's a fun time for us. It's more theoretical. It's not hands-on recording technology like we do in the workshop. The title of the course is Today's Music Industry, Race, Culture, and Technology. And developing that, it was this other look. If we want to talk about the music business, which some people, they'll say, well, there is a business of the music business course here. That's great. Learning, publishing, learning about songwriter splits, about masters and what those things mean. But that doesn't necessarily inject you into what's happening today. As a consumer, you're listening to what's happening right now. And that industry is evolving. What Morehouse allows us to do within J-Master or Justice Semester is having this social justice aspect to developing a course, is to challenge our students to think critically about this industry that they participate in, this multi-billion-dollar industry, and to look at it through the lens of race, culture, and technology. And the reason why, let's say with the first thing, technology is really the starting point for the recorded industry. The recording industry started in the 1900s, and that was all due to the development of recording technology. That doesn't mean that music wasn't around before the 1900s. It just means that the recording business, a way to make commodity out of music, began in the 1900s. That's been evolving over the last 120, 25 years through the help of technology. And technology has always made a major shift. So when we saw technology go from vinyl records to cassette to CDs were actually the most profitable time within the music industry because the cost to make them. You also had this evolution of the cost to create music. With technological developments, it decreased. So when you have profits or revenues, at such a level and your cost decreases, what ends up happening is the music industry can make more money. There were contracts that grandfathered in. So that's one aspect of it. And we're seeing the same thing happen with streaming, and now you're going to see it shift a little bit with AI, maybe. The other aspect of that, I look at it through the Morehouse lens, is who's in control of that? Because from the early 1900s, faces like ours were not at the table. And to this day, if we look at the three major labels, none of them look like us. But if you look at what's responsible for driving the music industry to the massive revenues it is, all the talent looks like us. And in my mind, that's a framework that more looks like a plantation. And so to be able to have conversations and to talk and think critically about what's been happening, and this course changes every year because every year is a difference in the music industry.
Culture changes the culture.
Yeah. So, it becomes about ownership, about our role within the music industry, being critical about what is being marketed or what is popular music, and how that affects not only the consumer, but the culture around the consumer. Morehouse is a special place. And I remember hearing this when I came. You sit here as critical thinkers, servants of the community, this incredible education, a place that is just so adored by many and thought of in such lofty area. You look at where its surroundings are. You go right outside of these gates or right outside this campus, and you're in Southwest Atlanta. And I always tell students within that course is that, you have a responsibility, because guess who's not paying $200 for tickets to promote music that talks about gun violence or misogyny or drug use? It's the people who are actually ingesting that. They're not driving that music to number one. And then the reason we look at it, that's the culture piece. That's the culture piece. And then we look at it from a race perspective, because if I say that this music is being detrimental or affecting black people in the wrong way, I got to look at who's making the decision about what gets greenlit and what doesn't.
Yeah, who's pushing that narrative in a way.
Exactly. So that's the J Mester course, Race, Culture, and Technology. It's probably one of the most fun experiences I have on this campus, of being able to interact with students around those subjects.
That's dope. And to that point as well, it's like, I don't know, I feel like time and time again, it's right, especially going back to like the technology tip, you know, it's like, it's very hard to even see like an access to technology in a lot of environments and stuff. You know, it's like, granted, if you want to go back to the concept of like the West End neighborhood, right? They might not have even like the means of being able to go make music and stuff, or to even have like that information that's like available to them, right? I think like if you look at things like accessibility in terms of like both like the digital divide and as well as like actual like usable information that can like shift somebody's like standing in life, I don't think that that's always like readily available, especially for people who look like us, you know. So yeah, again, like, thank you for doing the work that you do in this school, because like we don't see this enough, you know what I'm saying? People don't have access to this type of information, to this type of technology, and like, you know, it's needed for real. I want to ask you a question though, right? Just nothing but questions. I don't know, I feel like given the fact that like there are certain narratives that are pushed and there are certain ideas that are pushed in the music industry, like, do you think, is that what motivated you and Henny to start Pace Recordings?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Pace came about from two reasons. Within that J Mester course, we tell the story of a man by the name of Harry Pace, who was educated right here in AUC at Atlanta University, studied under W.E.B. Du Bois. Harry went on to do a lot of amazing things, but he created the first black record label in the 1920s.
Black Swan Records.
Black
right?
Swan Records, yeah, named by W.E.B. Du Bois. He had a board of investors that were all black people. And what Black Swan did in its short time was it became the catalyst for every major record label to begin allowing black artists to record. And they had a certain elegance about it, because you got to think, from the 1900s to 1920s, the most popular music, or the most popular export of U.S. music, was minstrel music, you know, very degrading to black people, to the point you had black artists performing minstrel music. That was the way to get on. But what you saw with Black Swan was an opportunity and a door that came as an independent company, self-funded, that basically challenged the norm of what popular music was. And that became the open door for, like Capitol Records to sign black artists. And the story goes like this: if Black Swan didn't exist, then Robert Johnson doesn't exist. And if Robert Johnson doesn't exist as a black artist, you don't get the Rolling Stones, you don't get the Beatles, you don't get all these white acts that people, glorify and brings. It doesn't happen. But then you don't also get the Aretha Franklins. You may never get an opportunity for a Motown if Black Swan doesn't exist. So, that was one part of it for us starting the record label, Pace Recordings, nod to Harry Pace, of course. But the other piece of that is that we sat in this classroom every January in J Mester and taught that to students. And then we would leave that and then go right back to playing in the system that we were in. Let's make these records for so-and-so that some white executive is going to push or not push. And, getting the calls to work on certain artists that we probably wouldn't even work on, but it might have been profitable. And it's almost hypocritical for me to be able to sit there and talk to students about this broken industry, this misguided industry, and not be an active participant within changing that narrative.
Becoming a counterculture in a way.
Exactly. But almost, if I think about it like this, and everybody can have their views on it. As I said, from the 1900s to 1920s, the biggest export was minstrel music. What's the difference between what's happening right now and minstrel music? a lot of brilliant ideas, the concept of love, the concept of upliftment, they're gone. They're gone. What's selling now is a bunch of stuff that's honestly not benefiting the culture. So our thing is to be a catalyst for change. If we can have enough strong voices to compete, we can be a catalyst for change in the major.
Most definitely. And I feel like, I mean, that's definitely needed at this time as well. You know, like something that came to mind is like in like 2020, you know, like when everything happened with George Floyd, like I remember like Lil Baby like released a song and like, I don't know what it was. It just didn't hit right for me, only because it's like I'm from what I was used to Lil Baby releasing up to that point. Like, yes, like the message of the song, it's very like uplifting and stuff. It's really saying like, nah, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we gotta like do better as like a people, you know what I'm saying? We gotta do better as a society rather, right? Yeah. But it didn't really hit for me in that same way because it's like, I know what I'm used to. I know what I'm used to hearing. It kind of felt like, oh, this is kind of like a push just to it felt like, it kind of felt like exploitation in a way, you know what I'm saying? And it's stuff like that where it's like, again, it's like, that's why it is important that we do have like catalysts for change in the industry where stuff can actually feel genuine again, you know, because I know for me, a lot of the music I listen to, I'm not really tuned into like a lot of the music that may be out today, you know. I listen to like a lot of older stuff, and I think that's part of the reason why I don't really listen to the stuff now, because it's like it doesn't connect with me the same. I can't listen to it the same way, you know. And so it's like, excuse me, like to that point, like I don't know, I feel like the music industry, you know, like you said before, it's in like a really weird place right now, only because like if we see stuff like AI and stuff starting to come out, if we see stuff like we see like AI coming out, especially with like DSPs, like digital streaming platforms, people who don't know that, as well, like digital streaming platforms and stuff, and just like how the internet has been able just to like expand the reach of like marketing and stuff, and like how people are actually able to like take in information. I don't know, I feel like now is more than time forever for people to actually have these like new labels and stuff, because it's like there's so much information, there's so much access to information, there's such like a overstimulation of information. That's a bar right there, you know what I'm saying, right? But like it's so out there, it's like it's so that's all the more reason why spaces like that are needed, you know. So like,
well, and I think on the right along with that, there's information, but who's getting the information? The record industry is more profitable than it's ever been, but who's seeing the profits? Once again, that's where our course comes in. And it's like, guys, we got to wake up. It's not just about listening to the record. You talk about even what happened with the social unrest and things in the 20s, the 2020s. That was very troubling to me, that there weren't more voices out during that time. But what it made me do is realize and wake up to the fact of there probably were a lot of social justice records that were written, that were produced. They never got greenlit. We hear this Lil Baby record months after the uproar, months after the Blackout Tuesday that the record industry did, that I just felt was just insufficient compared to its responsibility, and was very instrumental in getting the Academy on board with the response. Then we saw a lot of things that the Recording Academy did. But let's be real. WAP came out in July of 2020, you know. The Blackout Tuesday was in June of 2020. That record probably was greenlit to come out way before then, but they just had to wait for the unrest to come down. So, no, I think we're in a interesting space, and it can be a space of healing. It could be a space of growth. I think the music has the power to do that. But we understand that capitalism, the commercialization of art has spoiled it. And if we don't get our arms around it, and we don't inject our voices into not only the creative piece, but also the business model piece of it, we're gonna get lost. And so that's a passion of mine. It's a passion of Henny's to really figure that out.
Most definitely. And so I want to, like, I don't, is it a bad thing if we get lost in ourselves, though? That's something I want to ask you, because it's like I currently see, like, with me seeing what I see now, and like not necessarily knowing, but again, just taking in like the information like I see like around me and stuff. I see probably in like the next 5 years, like the music industry is going to get really like, it's going to start becoming like more bubbles, right? Right now it's like one holistic industry and stuff, and everybody's playing like this one game. I feel like as social media and like AI continues to like kind of like co-opt people's attention, I feel like we're going to start getting more and more like huddled together in a way, you know what I'm saying? Over maybe around maybe more so like specific acts, or maybe more so kind of like specific genres and stuff. And so it's like, I guess to start like, you know, with the right, if we see more black led spaces in music, right, whether it be record labels or whether it be like creative collectives and stuff like that, or right, things of that nature, do you think that would be such a bad thing if people began to start focusing their attention more and more into these huddles and stuff, like culturally?
No, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that's what the industry needs. But let me tell you what that entails. That entails people doing the work. Just because you have a collective, just because you say you have a label and you just still playing the same game, or you're still accepting that check that you have to make concessions about what you're putting out, what messaging, that doesn't do it. So we need educated, very well-run companies with smart and talented executives, not just, you know, I got a collective and we good.
Yeah, we trying to take it here.
We hot. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to get us there. At the end of the day, it's a business. It is a business. No one says in the NFL, yo, let's just start our own league over here. No, you go play ball at, you know, that's the pros. You want to be able to play in the pros. Now, if you have a well-run league, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But too often in this industry, we see people just jump in and think, oh, I got a label just because I not even produce a song. I can make beats. You know, you're far from being able. You're not understanding marketing. You're not understanding publishing. You're not understanding. Honestly, think about it like this, Kairo. You said these bubbles of collectives and things together, and we're talking about digital distribution. At the end of the day, who controls that? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about who controls that, because that's why music has shifted from a label model to a tech model. It's because tech owns the internet. Tech owns that distribution space. So if we don't get our heads in the game, we're going to be playing from behind. And no matter, we don't care how many bubbles there are on the ground, you know, somebody's still calling the shots.
Or that's real. That's real. And so then again, right, just I guess just like sum up the conversation we've had today, you know, it's like, that's why it's all the more important for us to have spaces of education so that we understand concepts like marketing, concepts right within the music business as well. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you scale a business out, you know, and like what does it mean? What are the importance of these businesses, you know, on a cultural and social level, you know? So
yeah, this is the beauty about Morehouse, and we tell all our classes this. Hey, that's great. Somebody wants to talk to me, you want to hang out with me, you want to meet other people, and that's fine. The next leaders of all this, they're right in the room. They might be the business major or the computer science major or you know, the music major. You never know. There's a guy by the name of Paul Judge, you know, Morehouse alum. I mean, he was a computer science guy, and now he is funding and supporting so much in the entrepreneurial space because he was able to develop a product and sell it for quite a bit of money. I've got friends who are in restaurant business and airport concessions, and they're all funding or getting behind us from an entertainment space. So, you know, our motto from our production company to our record company is we are all we need, and to be in these spaces. This is why it's so important and so critical for us to be educating at Morehouse. We've got the best minds in the world to take on this industry, to be able to fight for this industry, because it is a fight. And so when you empower people and equip them with the knowledge and tools at this level, but with that Morehouse thing of being able to think critically, and how does this affect me and my community, we're much more equipped to take on the music industry.
Most definitely. I just want to thank you so much for your time today, you know, for actually taking the time out to speak to me. And thank you for watching. This has been the More Conversations podcast.